Guys, Tarke here today, and I'm going to be talking about sextants, why I dislike sextants while running some maps. And before I get into it, I just want to state that this Saturday coming, we are having a Baeclast entirely themed around Atlas, and we're having both the Uber Elite and Carve on as guests, alongside the usual cast of Rise, Ziggy, and Cute Dog. So this is kind of like me putting my flag in the ground now. Maybe after speaking to everyone Saturday, I'll change my point of view. This is going to be like a pros and cons of sextants. So why am I having this conversation now? What's kind of brought Numlock what's brought this on? So I'm currently in the situation where I need to start sextanting my maps, basically. I've got it kind of set up. I've got my stuff ready to be blocked and everything, and I just need to do it. And I'm currently suffering from extreme buyer's remorse. What I mean by buyer's remorse is I've got a strategy in place. I know what I want to do, but I just really don't want to do it. So, I'm currently playing Namahu Cyclone. As you can see, it's not a very good Namahu Cyclone. It's just a setup that is whatever. But this is what I'm currently playing. Now, this build is best off in very tight linear maps for fairly obvious reasons. It's a Cyclone build. I was just going to turn my elite filter downs a little bit. Now, because of that, anyone who knows me knows that I usually play bow builds. Bow builds are very good at big open maps. I'm in a situation where I'm currently kind of like, do I really want to go with the Atlas strategy I currently have for my current build? Because this will actually be bad for any future builds I want to do. Also, anyone who's currently part of the great Vault crisis of 2K18 knows that currently people are freaking out because the price of stuff is all over the place, because everyone got on the Vault hype train. Now, some people are having a lot of fun with Vault. A lot of people really aren't having a lot of fun with Vault. Some people started doing Atoll and Channel. Cute Dog's doing a lot of Channel. And people are kind of freaking out a little bit. So, I've come to the conclusion that sextants, in my case anyway, actually hurt build diversity. Because I want to be doing very tight linear maps on this character, when it comes to me setting up my sextants and my shaping, I want to shape tight linear maps. Now, with the new shaping system, it's actually very easy to change your shaped maps. Before, for example, if you wanted to shape a tier 11, you had to complete excavation on your Atlas, to then get the Shaper's Orb, then remove that tier 11 from your Atlas, to then shape, right? Now, however, you only need to complete it once, and if you ever want to change your shaped map, you just unshape it, and then talk to Zana, you get the orb again. So they've made it very easy to swap around your shape maps almost at whim, but sextants are still a problem. So I guess I should explain why would you want to sextant in the first place, for anyone who doesn't quite understand why you'd want to sextant and what is sextant blocking. Sextants, when you roll them onto a map, for the next 3 maps that you do, they have a bonus. So they can be like, contains additional breaches, contains additional X, Y, and Z. And the main thing that people want is additional mobs. And that's basically that. If you have additional mobs, then whoop-de-whoop. If you don't have additional mobs, feels bad, man. And you re-roll until you get all good mods. Now, what you can do is you can block out the bad mods by surrounding maps you don't want to run with the bad mobs, which are close to the map you want to run, and that way you block out the bad mods. Very brief TLDR. Now, this process usually costs, on average, should we say, 30-ish sextants, probably more than that, if we think about it. Let's just say 30, let's just say around number of 30-ish sextants. That's including blocking out all the bad ones and setting up your initial good ones. Now, once you've done that, you've put your stamp on the Atlas. This is your setup. This is what you're going for. Your stuff looks like this. If you then want to change to something else, you then need to completely reblock. The advantage of blocking is it makes your sextanting a lot more efficient, because, lo and behold, because you've blocked out all the bad ones, so for example, if I was doing Vault, I'd block out all these trash mods just so these good ones around Vault have the good ones on there. It means that instead of having to re-roll over and over and over again, you only have to re-roll once or twice to get the good mods on there. Seems good, right? Seems good. Now, if I want to suddenly move from doing Vault to, let's say, doing Waste Pool, or something on the complete other side of the Atlas, I need to invest a bunch of currency, completely re-changing it. That's what I mean by buyer's remorse. You're pushed into a situation where if you ever want to change for whatever reason, because you don't like your current setup, or you want to try out something new, or you think that another setup is better, you have this very high investment cost. Now, for most players who play a lot, this isn't an issue because they have enough currency. For people who have enough currency, it doesn't matter. And correctly sextanting your map is incredibly, incredibly profitable, and you get a lot of the flashy muns from it. So for the people doing it correctly, it's not really that big of an issue. For the people who want to get into it, for people who are kind of inexperienced, people who are more likely to want to try out different setups, they're the guys that are less likely to have that much currency. The people who sextants are the best for are the people who play all day, every day. Me raging on sextants isn't Tarke being a filthy elitist. This is Tarke actually wants to promote more casual gameplay, more I want to try out different things, more the people who play the least, people who have with the less currency gets punished the less by the system. Whenever I've talked about sextants in the past, people often come from the point of like, oh, Tarke, you're being so extreme and elitist, blah, blah, blah. No, I want a system where there isn't this initial huge crazy investment into doing profitable mapping. Your response would then be, well, Tarke, you don't have to sextant block at all. I don't sextant block. If the best solution to a system is to not use the system, that is a bad system. That is an elegant game design. Okay. There are some pros I'll get into later, but let's just keep going through this like negative list, like con, so to speak. So, ignoring the fact that you have this whole buyer's remorse setup, ignoring the fact that, you know, it limits build diversity in the sense that once you've blocked for very narrow maps, so if I do all like the sewer layouts, for example, for my Cyclone character, I then don't want to re-roll a bow build because those are bad in those maps. Or vice versa, if I was to do all the open maps, I wouldn't then want to then roll a Cyclone character because Cyclone would be really bad in all these big open maps. For example, Shaped Fields as a Cyclone character feels pretty muh because it's this huge open map. This map would feel amazing on Tornado Shot, but for Cyclone, not so much. Right. It's a system with inherently poor understanding. I gave a very brief TLDR. I'm sure there are plenty of people in the comments who don't understand what the hell I just said. Every single time we talk about sextants, be it in personal videos, on streams, or on Baeclast, people still ask, Tarke, can you explain sextants to me? Even just sextants in-game, they aren't very clear at what they do. It's just like, adds or rerolls a mod for a yellow or white map on the Atlas. So you might look at that and be like, oh, so like, if I have a rolled map, it means that I can like re-roll the map? What? Why doesn't this work? It doesn't make a lot of sense just looking at it from a tooltip point of view. I know that Path of Exile's never been a great game for making sense, but the fact that we've had sextants in the game for so long now, and whenever I mention sextants, people are like, I don't get it. It kind of shows that there is some issue there. Right. They're an ugly system. If you look at a Atlas, which is fully sextant block, it just looks ugly. There's all these horrible circles all over the place. It's a massive cluster. It's hard to easily understand looking at it. Now, something being ugly doesn't necessarily matter, but it's not elegant game design. There's nothing elegant about sextants. And the big thing, the main thing which I really dislike about them, is they are tedious and they add barriers to gameplay. If you're correctly sextanting your maps, every 3 maps you need to refresh your sextants. That isn't fun. There's nothing fun about, oh, every 3 maps I do, I need to play this little mini-game, potentially need to go onto Pee Wee Trade to buy more sextants when I run out, or be constantly buying in bulk, so on and so forth. It just adds barriers to gameplay. Barriers to gameplay are generally not good, and most people's main issue with sextants is the fact that they have this barrier to them. Okay. So, what are, like, the good things about sextants? What good things can I say about them? They're incredibly, incredibly lucrative and rewarding. They are by far one of the most rewarding things to invest in. Once you correctly understand sextants and set up your Atlas appropriately, you're going to be making big, big months. Very big months. So in that sense, at least they perform, they have a purpose, and they achieve their goal. The goal being, oh, we want to make maps feel a bit better, they have more mobs in them, we have more drops. They definitely do that. They feel fun to use once you have your system correctly set up, because they add more monsters to the map. The more monsters in the map, generally the more fun you have, okay? Now my caveat to that would be, It's not the act of sextants that people enjoy. What people enjoy is having more monsters in their maps. If Gigi turned around and deleted sextants and then just rolled in all the additional mobs just into like normally being in the map itself, I feel like most people would be okay with that. Most would probably actually prefer that in some cases, where it's just like, oh yeah, we got rid of sextants, but it's fine because instead what we've done is we've just said that yeah, it's just these mobs in the map now. Does that kind of make sense? So it's kind of like, it's not the actual act of adding them to the map, it's just the end result is what's good there. One good pro of them is it promotes planning and it rewards player knowledge. Even though they are a frustrating system for some, even though they are a hard to understand system for some, it is fairly simplistic, and once you do get your head around it, it is incredibly rewarding to know how to use the system. Anything which rewards player knowledge is generally a good thing, and not everything needs to be super beginner friendly. It is good every now and again to have these systems which just give you a little bit of reward. I would say the main issue you have currently is they are too rewarding. By not using sextants, you are just shooting yourself in the foot. It's not like, oh, you use sextants, they have this initial investment cost and you're getting a little bit back. It's no. You use sextants, you're getting substantially more back in returns. So let's just give a few examples. So Siege, for example, is a very tight, very linear map with lots of monsters into it. Sextants add more monsters to maps. The more monsters in the maps, the more XP you're getting, the more loot that you're getting. So if you're getting more XP and more loot, then everything is better. You're leveling up faster, people care about leveling up. People care about making money, you're getting more money. And that is a big issue, right? So a lot of people don't care about XP. However, if you care about XP, if you care about competing, you have to sextant block. If you aren't sextant blocking and you care about XP, then you cannot be competitive. Even if you don't want to be competitive, but you're just someone on a limited play schedule and you don't get to play very often, but you want to reach a high level, then you have to sextant block. If you're on a limited schedule, you need to be doing the most efficient things. So it's a system which, once again, punishes or forces people to interact with it. If you're someone who can only play 1 day a week and you're not sextant blocking, then you're just making the difference between you and someone who plays every day even bigger. And this is another thing which people don't seem to understand whenever I talk about the system. They're like, well, it's fine, Tarke, you don't have to use it. By not using the system, you get less XP and less currency. You might potentially be having more fun by not having to do the system at all, but for many, they would have more fun instead having more XP or more currency to then invest into more powerful items, more varied builds, etc., etc., etc. Now, the other thing, because they do reward planning and they do have this initial investment, you could maybe make the argument they reward player retention or even promote player retention, because they have this whole like initial investment set up. Well, once it is set up, there's like a, oh, I feel good, I set this thing up. People might be more likely to stick to playing something once they've had set a goal and then completed the goal. So that is at least one solid pro I can think of. One big thing that I missed out in the cons list, which I think is fairly substantial, sextant blocking intrinsically goes against the whole War for the Atlas setup. So currently, if we look at my Atlas, you can see there's Shaper and Elder stuff going on. Now, I've killed Elder this league, I've killed all of his Guardians, just the once, but it was kind of like, okay, that was kind of interesting, whatever. If you want to be chasing Shaper and Elder all around the map, being super, super efficient, then sextant blocking ruins that, and that isn't fun. Also, even if you are sextant blocking and you don't really want to interact with Shaper and Elder, you still need to push Shaper and Elder onto the correct map so you can chain repeat them, and that's just like negative setup. So you have this system which sextant blocking makes players less likely to chase Shaper and Elder all the way around the map. God, I really haven't played much this league at all. But not only that, they also promote people pushing their Shaper and Elder into one stationary place and then never doing anything to ruin that. Once you've set up so your Elder will always be in shape to bolt, you then really, really don't want to change your shape setup because of the amount of work it takes you to get your stuff permanently parked there. So you have the system which intrinsically goes against the whole point of the expansion, and then also, once you do have it set up, really goes against the whole point of expansion, and really goes against the whole point of experimenting, because it's so much work getting stuff to go exactly where you want it to go. Right, so we're at a point now where we've had 2 full expansions focused around Atlas. We've had the original Atlas launch itself, and now the War for the Atlas. And the main limiting factor I can see to the Atlas is Sextants. If they removed Sextants and instead just rolled more density in general into all maps, then people would have more flexibility on what they want to do. If people still want to only do Shaped Vault or Shaped Channel for an entire league or whatever it is, you can still do that. But if you ever wanted to swap, you only then have the initial investment of reshaping your Atlas itself and removing certain maps. What I mean by that is, let's say you're doing Shaped Channel farming, which is quite popular now. You want that to be your only tier 10. So even if you want to be regularly changing your Atlas, there's still a cost there in resetting it up. So if you went from doing the Shaped Vault setup to the Shaped Channel setup, you would still have to remove all the tier 10s from your map, aside from Channel. And then if you wanted to swap from that, you'd still have to reinvest in getting all the maps set up. So there's still, like, an investment cost there. There's still, like, some form of punishment and reward structure there, right? So it's not like by removing Sextants you would completely, you know, screw that system up. Also, it's just briefly worth mentioning, there was this whole, like, XP rework, which a lot of people got upset about. Now, for the big boys, people who play all day, every day, it really didn't do very much. It's just like, okay, we've added, what, another, like, 12 hours? Come on the pile. Come on the pile. You take more damage. Whatever. It added, like, an extra 12 to 20 hours. The grind didn't really do that much. The only people it really punish is people who don't heavily invest. And that is my main issue with Sextants. You have a system which, for the people who try hard, it limits their enjoyment. Most top people are against Sextants. There's a reason why whenever this whole Sextant thing comes up, a lot of the top races say they need nerfing. Ziz, Gucci, Steel, who are we considering top racers? Rise doesn't have an opinion because SSF, lol. Uber, he plays SSF, he races quite a lot. He's not a big fan of them. When all of the people who are at the, like, top of the game dislike a system, and all the people at the bottom who, like, say, oh, it's fine because we don't use the system, that isn't a good system. If the main people who say, no, we should keep this system, it's fine, Tarke, it doesn't need nerfing, are the people who don't use the system, then that is, in my opinion, bad game design and a bit of a messed up situation. That all being said, I still enjoy the game, for the record. I'm still having a lot of fun this expansion, and I'm still overall having a really good time and really looking forward to all future updates. And I just thought I'd add that in there because sometimes people don't seem to understand that you can love something but still think that it could be improved. I love this game. I have the utmost respect for the entire GG balance and development team, but in my personal opinion, Sextants are really holding the game back, and it would be interesting to try one league without them. And just briefly on that point, I also think that Sextants don't work very well with the current league and permanent setup because they reward setting up once and then leaving alone. Because people play for like 3 months in theory, you've set it up once, that is it. It is locked in place for that entire league. And for then standard players, it's even more punishing. If you play standard, you want to try unlocking everything, you unlock everything, go, actually, I don't want to do that now. You have this massive, let's shorten everything down, let's reblock. It just is a punishing system, and it has lots and lots and lots of limitations to it. I'm Tarke, Rise just came on Skype. Again, reminder, Baeclast this Saturday. Let's see what the others have to say and if my opinion changes. Have a good day. Bye-bye.